So, you might start asking yourself, well, Robert, you can call me RJ, where do I actually start learning guitar? What are the first things that I should try and learn? We should try and establish, in my opinion, the framework to become sufficient in producing melody and harmony. That means that we should learn chords and we should learn scales. Not only that, but we should also develop our ear and develop our own inner emotive response and our own inner emotive voice, right? Because without our own inner emotive voice, we can't play what comes out of us, right? So if someone were, playing, let's say, this A chord, and I was expecting to play over it, without proper knowledge of harmony and melody, as well as a development of my ear and of my own emotive response, then I might just simply be a robot and say, it's not lyrical. I mean, it's lyrical to a degree that it's a scale and that they're the right notes. There's no emotive content, and I'm not actually actively using my ear. I'm just repeating things like a robot or like whatever other word you want to use. Whereas with my emotive response, I can come up with lines of melody. So we have to become sufficient in melody, and we have to become sufficient in harmony. And both of those things do require knowledge, and they require effort, and they require time. Well, what are the things that I'm supposed to put my time into? Well, that's a good question. You put your time into the proper scales, you put your time into patterns, and you put your time into chords and chord shapes. There's lots of different exercises that I can show you for these, and I will show you them in just a minute. So that's the main thing that's stopping people from progressing on guitar is, from what I've seen, an understanding of harmony and melody and how both of them coincide, and the very fact that they need to advance just those. That's what creates a musician, is an understanding of those being advanced further and further and further. And if you talk to a very highly advanced musician about the concepts of harmony and melody, they will be able to talk about it for an hour without exhausting the actual meaning of those words. They can give countless examples and even go deeper into what they think melody and harmony really means. So, to start with melody, right, which I think is a good start, we need to practice some scales. Probably the most recognized scale in the world, as far as guitarists go, is the A minor pentatonic scale. The A minor pentatonic scale is called the pentatonic scale because simply there's 5 notes in it before the sequence repeats. By a sequence, I mean the sequence of notes. The A minor pentatonic is a simple but very versatile scale in that if your home is A minor, or if even the chord that you're on is A minor, it is an appropriate scale to play. And whenever you play it, there's lots of small adjustments you can make to make it sound hipper. By hipper, I mean, cooler, more interesting sounding. And I would actually recommend most guitarists, and please look up this scale afterwards. I will see if I can even supply videos or tabs for this exact scale. Look it up. A minor pentatonic. Whoops. Look up A minor pentatonic. Tabs, and start from there. Start here. This is where your scales will start. So So when you start to have an understanding of that, that's where we can actually start to create a space where we can learn more, because it gives us a nice hard copy, a nice, what's the word I'm looking for? Blueprint for where all of our scales are going to develop further. Because you see, I have this right here. And the truth is that if I add just a few more notes and a few more positions, I have a full-blown A minor scale, the full scale, not just the pentatonic, but the full scale. That only added a few things, right? But we use the A minor pentatonic to build on it. And indeed, if someone said, well, I want a Dorian sort of sound, and this is something totally different, I'll get into it later, you can slowly add more things to it. It's a good building block because you can add things to it over time to complete your knowledge of the scale. So this is your introduction to A minor, right? This is your introduction to the entire thought process of A minor. You know, are we talking A minor as in this? Or are we talking A minor as in something like maybe a little hipper that some other artists might play? So that there's multiple ways in which we can approach scales, and there's multiple ways we can build upon the A minor pentatonic that will give us an actual working body. Now, what I just played for you is the A minor pentatonic in what is commonly referred to as the E shape. It is called the E shape because, if you'll remember from my other videos, it starts the first note on the E string. That doesn't mean you have to start your solos or your melodies on that string. You can start it here. What it means is that the root, the very root of that position you're in, is located on the E string, which is right here. So, that is one of the most important steps, I think, for developing melody, is learning the pentatonic scale. I will introduce a concept on my next video that will really shatter your brain on the pentatonic scale and guitar as a whole. Now, using this A minor or even just A position on the E string in the key of A minor, I'm going to introduce melody. Melody, the way you can develop it is by adding notes on top of each other and gain an understanding of it. In fact, you can even gain some understanding of harmony by simply rooting down on the A and playing notes over the top of it, such as I might go over to the next string. Understand some of those sound nicer together, some of them don't sound nicer together. To understand harmony, you should learn some of your first basic chords. For these, I will teach you what are called an open chord. Open chords are easier because you're using less of your hands, less of your head, and a little more just basic knowledge. In fact, sometimes these are referred to as campfire chords, or camping chords, or acoustic chords, or country chords. There's all sorts of ways of people just essentially saying that they're simple chords because that's what tends to be played around a campfire or a country song or whatever. And we have many of them. And they're all at the top of the neck here. That's some of what makes them an open chord. But they're primarily an open chord because the root of the chord is on an open string. if this is an A minor chord, which it is, the actual root of the chord is not being fretted. It is in fact open. I am not touching it. It's that second string closest to me. The second one is totally open. That is what's referred to as an open chord. A minor is probably one of the first chords I would look up how to play. We have the A minor, E minor, D. I would also look up D minor, I think. We have A major, which some people play like this. Personally, I play it like this. I'm weird, don't judge me. And we have our E major chord. And we even have our G chord. And our C chord. Our F chord. These are not exactly open chords I'm showing right here. This is not necessarily open, and this is not necessarily open either. But they're all in this area of the neck and are chords that I think we should all know when we're starting our journey of learning guitar, right? At least start with, I would say, these four. Start with these four. E minor, E major, which you can also voice as this, A major, and A minor. Starting with those four is great because you're going to have a shape that you can develop, and that's what my next video will be on, is something called shapes. And you will also have some working chords. If you're sitting around somewhere and someone says it's in the key of E, chances are one of those chords will be what's played. I hope that this introduction to melody and harmony has been helpful on where to start. Where would you start in learning melody and harmony? I will create a couple of shorts about the different scales and chords, and we will build upon from there. My next video will be about shapes, and I think will be incredibly helpful to the budding guitarist because it's going to elaborate more about how does guitar actually work. Why does it seem like people can just slide things up all the way up the neck so easily? And the simple answer behind that is shapes. Join me on my next video where we will talk about the shapes of a guitar. Thank you.